Evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to be doing Simplicity S9469. And I'm going to be doing C in a size 10. I'm using the 100% cotton, the white cotton that I got, I think it was last week. I just thought that would make a cute shirt. There's a little trick I wanted to show you. If you have the hole punch, this is great for patterns where you have to put your dots. So here's a piece of my pattern, and I made the dot right here on my number, so that way I can get my pin in there and mark it. Okay, so we're doing top C. And on this, you just have to watch your pattern pieces. There's some for like 6 and 8 size, 10 to 14 size. So you have to really look at your pattern piece and be sure you're getting the right piece that you need. So the first thing we need to do is stay stitching on the front and the back. And stay stitching is just a little bit longer stitch. It's about a 1/2 inch away from your raw edge. Let me get my pin holder here. Okay. So we have to get number 10. And the arrows will give you the directions where to stay, in what direction to stay stitch. Now also be sure your length, you got it right. This is for C, but this is for D. So just be sure you get the right length. Okay, so on number 2, you're gonna stay stitch from here and then this way. And the same with the back, this way and that way. So just get your stitch probably about 3 length, and go from this end to this middle, and from this end to the middle. And I'm sorry I haven't been on for a few days. It's been just so hot down here. You just have to jump in the pool and call it a day. Okay, I was having problems with my turner. I think I sprung the little spring in it or something. It wouldn't pull it through. So I just did it as bias tape. So on the ties, there's dots, and you want to match those up to the dot on the shirt, and you're going to baste these on. Be sure that you're using where the raw edge is. You want that inside the shirt here. Oh, I gotta go let my dog out. Okay. And when you're sewing, just be sure that these are straight. Okay, now you're gonna get your back, and with right sides together, you're gonna sew at the shoulder seams. So match your notches. Oh, my bird's going off again. And I pinned my ties out of the way just so I know I don't sew them up in a seam somewhere. So this is a 5/8 seam allowance. Just be sure everything's even. So just 5/8. And remember, always start with your needle down. And I'm just gonna press my seams open. Okay, with your number 12, get that out. I have to cut some interfacing. You need one of fabric and one of interfacing. And then just press that on. And I just use the Pellon. I think it's 880. Yep, 880F soft shape. And this is what I use for all my clothing. So if you put the rough side up, that's the glue. And then just put this down. And pin it. And then just cut. And then you can just iron it on. He's on a roll tonight. So just get this all pinned up, cut it out. Iron it on. And while you're doing that, on number 13, it also needs interfacing. So get those two pieces done. Okay, now you're just gonna do 5/8 seam on number 12 and 13. You're gonna sew at the shoulder seam. And then I'm just gonna open up the seams. And then we have to do the unnotched edge here all along. Now you can turn under 1/4 of an inch and press it, or you can zigzag it. I'll probably turn under 1/4. I'm making this for my half-sister. She's a little bit smaller than me, but when we get done, I'll try it on if I can get into it. She's just a little bit smaller than me, and I usually make a 12, and this is a 10. So we'll see how it works out. Okay, and when you get done with this, just stitch it down. So you can sew a 1/4 inch and have a stitch line to follow, or just turn it under and then stitch it. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this. So just try to get it, you know, like in the, at least in the center of all of this. Okay, and I'm just going to go back and press it down. Okay, now you're going to pin this. Be sure that that dot is where that dot is for the tie. And pin it down. Okay, then pin your shoulder seam. Just be sure this is all even. And this is right sides together. And then you have a couple notches, so you want to match those. And this will be a 5/8 seam allowance. And then you have to cut little clips in it. What I do is I use my pinking shears, and that way it allows everything just to turn. Okay, be sure your seams are opened on your shoulder seams. And I usually double pin. And then I come back and do the other part. Okay, then come back down to your next tie, which is right here. Be sure that dot is on there. Be sure that you tie your ties out of the way, or pin them. And then just keep going around. This whole little, I call it the teardrop. Yeah, we've been having heat advisories just about every day. So I've been bringing the dog, Goose, into the pool. He loves it. Okay, so now you're going to sew this up 5/8. And once we clip it, see, this turns inwards. Okay, so sew this around at 5/8. Be sure that your ties are out of the way, that you're not going to catch them. Be sure everything is straight. I just want to be sure. Oh, that's my tie. Okay, no, is that my tie? Yep. Get that out of my way. And just keep going around. Okay, so now you can either get your pinking shears or just make your clips around. Just don't clip your shirt or your ties. And then we have to press this down. And then they want us to tack it down. What I'm going to use is my tape to keep this down. I just can't seem to get my hands to work tonight very well. So get this all trimmed up. And I'll meet you at the iron. Okay, I'm going to use my little turner right here to poke out my corners where my ties are. And if you see some of your basting thread, you can get that out. Here's my other corner right here. So I'm just going to push those out. Not hard, but enough that they'll poke out. Okay. Now we're going to do the roll method. You got to get this down so this seam is right on top. So if you roll the material, you can get that to roll and your seam will be right on top. And then you're going to press it, and they want you to tack this down. I'm going to use my stitch wickery or witchery. So that's right here. And that's just like a really thin heat bond tape. And it'll just help it keep it down. I used my heat pin, so don't worry, that's going to come off. I have just a little piece of thread, but I'll get that out of there. So come to the ironing board, and I don't know if I'm going to use this one or my little one. I might use this one. It might work a little bit better. in some spots. Ooh. So I'm going to get this down first before I put any of that tape down, just to be sure that it's sitting right. And then I'll come back, and put my tape down. So you want that seam right on top. So just keep working and rolling. And you'll be able to get that seam right on top. You just want to be sure there's no buckling or anything. Okay, let me get this part done, and when I'm ready to put the tape on, I'll be back. Okay, so what you can do is either take thread and a needle. I just got a little thread right there. And tack it down. Or take the tape. Now my shirt now is inside out. So you want to be sure if you're using the tape before you put it on, this is exactly right. So then you just take a little piece, and I'm just going to lay it down. I can see the imprint of where this is going to go. Okay. And then just iron this down. Okay, that's down now. Go to your next spot and just be sure everything is nice and straight. And those seams are right on top. Get another piece. Let's see. So get another piece and place it down. Okay, and then iron it on. And that's on. Okay, so go around and do that, or use your needle and thread, and I'll be right back. Okay, and that's what you'll have. It's really nice and sharp. And all this is laid down. Okay, before we go to the next step, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. And at this time, if you would please like, share, subscribe, comment, thumbs up. Don't forget about the special video for August for a free pattern drawing. And I'll return in a few minutes. I'm back. Okay, now what we're going to do is sew up our side seams. So right sides together, match your notch. Okay. Get everything nice and even and pin it, and this will be 5/8. And then I'm just going to take my pinking shears and go down the seam after I sew it. So just get everything nice and even. Okay, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just taking my pinking shears and taking about half of this off. And then I'll iron it open. And then we'll start the sleeves. And we have to ease stitch the sleeves on the top. So be sure that seam is open. So when we put the sleeve in, the seam is open. Okay, so get this all done up. And I was going to give you a tip. If you've done anything with the gauze and you have little pieces left over, if you have a dog or a cat and you have ear cleaner, that stuff, the gauze is really soft, and I clean the dog's ears every time we go after we get out of the pool, and it's just really soft. I was using you know, the gauze pads, medical gauze pads, and it just got really expensive. And I started using these gauze. I just cut them up, you know, and then I can throw it away because it's just scrap. But it's some way to use up your scrap. So there's one other tip. Okay. That's going to be really pretty. Okay, now we need to do our sleeves. That's number 6. And we're going to ease between the notches. Get you down here. So from this notch to that notch, we're going to ease. Now, just make your stitch a little bit longer. And keep a tail on both ends so you can work with both ends. Okay. So I usually go up to about 3.5, 3.6. Leave a tail. And in front of, I want to get the right side, yeah. In front of the notch, just start stitching. And stitch really close, well, not real close, but close enough to the edge so it's not going to show through. So I kind of go, I don't know, like a 1/4 inch. So I got my tail. So just go around to your next notch. And then lift up your foot and leave yourself a nice tail. And that way you can pull. All right, let me get the other one done. Okay, now we're gonna stitch the sides of the sleeve. So get your right sides together. This is gonna have elastic in here. So get your right sides together, match your notches, pin it, and sew it down 5/8 on both sleeves. And I'll probably use my pinking shears again. On this seam to just make it a little bit smaller. So right sides together. And then we'll make the casing for the elastic. And there is a guide for the elastic. I'll probably just put it on and measure it to me. That way I know her wrists are at least the same size as mine, so I'll do it that way. And if you're not sure, just, you know, measure it on yourself. Okay, let me get these sewn up. Don't forget to put your machine back to where you were before you ease stitch. I had to get another spool of thread. I ran out of bobbin. And another trick I was going to tell you about is if you do use the tape and you get some on your iron, let your iron cool. Then take some rubbing alcohol, and you can either use the gauze, or if you have terry cloth, and just rub that on there, and the rubbing alcohol will take it off. But just be sure that your iron's cool. You don't want to smell the fumes of rubbing alcohol. Okay. So after you have all your sleeves done, just come back and turn your shirt inside out. We're going to hem this first. And it's a narrow hem. So let me turn you this way. So a narrow hem is 1/4 inch, and then turn it again another 1/4 and clip it or pin it. So I'm just going to start, and I just turn it 1/4 inch and do this all around. And then when you come back, just turn it again, press it, clip it. And then you'll sew real close to that fold edge. Okay, let me get this done, and then I'll be right back, and then we'll get this at least hemmed up, and then all we have left are our sleeves. Once you're back around, just press it, clip, and go on, and do that all the way around. Okay, now you're going to go to the sewing machine, and you want to sew close to this edge. Okay, this is calling for 1 inch elastic for the sleeves. I don't want to have something that heavy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use 1/4 inch. It might make the sleeve a little bit longer because you're not taking up as much, but I don't want heavy elastic. This is 100% cotton. It's pretty light. So I really don't want to have a heavy elastic in the sleeve. So I'm going to do that. I don't know if I have. That's 3/4. I think this is 1 inch. Yeah. That's 1 inch. And to me, that's just really heavy for a shirt like this. So I just wanted to show you the difference. I'm going to be using this. I have 3/4 inch, but it's still, to me, a little bit too big. So I think I'm just going to use the 1/4 inch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn down or turn up 1/4 all the way around. And then I'll probably come back and just turn up like 1/2 inch. Now, if you're using the inch, then do what they're saying to do. Okay, let me get this done and I'll show you. Okay, I'm turning up 1/2 inch. And you can see that my elastic will have enough room in there. So I just grabbed my little ruler here, set it for 1/2 inch, and press it. Now you have to leave an opening for your elastic. I don't do it right at that seam, but close to it. So I'll just pin a little section where I'm going to keep open, and then I'll clip the rest of the way. So just measure and clip. And do this for both sleeves, and then before you sew it, measure your sleeves to be sure that they're the same size. You don't want to have two different size sleeves. All right, let me get these done. Okay, so start at this pin and sew right near this fold till you come to this pin and then back stitch, and do that on both sleeves. Okay, before you do that, be sure you measure that your sleeves are the same. Okay, before you put your elastic in, just iron your sleeves. It'll just help this stay down some. So I kind of just press where I sewed. There. Okay, get your elastic in a little safety pin, or a safety pin, whatever size elastic you're using. And just put it through the elastic. And just start threading it through, keeping it straight. I gotta find, oh, there's my little hole. And what I usually do is I will thread this through, fit it on my arm, and then I pull it out and just cut another piece of elastic. So just keep threading this through. My bird's got a potty mouth tonight. So what I usually do is right before I get to the end, I'll pin this other elastic so it doesn't go through. I really don't have to do it on this because this is on a roll. But if you only have, you know, a piece like this, just tack it right here so it doesn't go all the way through again. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, here we are, right there. And I'll pull the end that the elastic is on the spool, and that way I don't waste any. So I'll just hook this to this one, and then I'll just pull it. And then I'll just put it on my arm. Okay. So that feels pretty good. Let me just tighten it just a little. There. Okay. So I want to have it so it'll be up here, but not like real tight. So that seems pretty good right there. So I'll just cut it, pull it out. I'm gonna give it like an inch because I'm gonna be overlapping. Okay. undo this. Pull it out. Measure this. Okay. And then I'll go back and thread both of them. And then when you get it done through, you're going to overlap. So be sure you measure how much you overlap. So just say if you overlap an inch, be sure you overlap an inch on this one. And then you're going to sew this little band down, this little band down, and then you're going to come straight down, and it'll look like an H. And that way, it's more sturdy, because if you sew it this way, you're left a bump, and you don't want that. So just overlay it and measure and all, and then sew up your little hole there. And then we'll put the sleeve on, and then we'll be done. We have to ease the sleeve in, so, and then we should be done. All right, let me get this through again and get this done, and then I'll be back. So this is what I was saying. Take the other end and then just pin it through, and that way your elastic won't go all the way through. And just keep going. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so be sure you measure your elastic overlap. So I have an inch. So we'll do an inch on the other piece. Okay, now just sew these up. Okay, now we're going to put the sleeves on with right sides together. Now be sure you have a double notch. So you have to be sure you get the right sleeve on. And there's some dots that will match up. So let me see if this is, that's the double. Okay. That's the double. Oh, my bird's going off again. Sides. This is double. That's single. Okay. So we're going to go in this way. So there's like 4 points you have to do, or 3 points. Let me get that in there. So the first thing I do is my seam. Okay. And I get my seam just right. Okay. And match my notch. This seam open a minute. Jeez, my hands don't want to work tonight. So pin your seams. Okay, match your notch. And be sure this is even. And come to your next notch. Okay. Now you have where we're going to ease. You have your dots. And you want to be sure you match your dots up. And easing is not really gathering, it's just to ease this sleeve in. And then go to your next side and see where your dot is. And get that pinned up. Okay, I had to get some of my thread. I couldn't find my ease thread. Okay, so just ease it in. Get that thing out of my way. Now, don't worry if it's gathered a little up here. Just as long as the gathering does not go where you're going to be sewing the 5/8. Okay. Just match your your dots. That looks right. Okay. Get that nice and even. Okay, and then get your top done. Now I might have to ease a little here. Is that my string? Let me see. I lost my string again. All right. I gotta move where my pins are. There we go. Just kind of ease that in. Okay. That looks pretty good. Pin that up. And I'm going to pin my 2 seams here so I know that they stay down. Okay, and then I usually just kind of pull, not hard, but just enough that everything looks pretty straight. And then I'll come over on this side, and even though there's pins in it, very gently just be sure you didn't catch anything that you don't want to sew up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. To come back around. Okay. Then sew this 5/8, and then from notch to notch, go down the same seam. Now be sure everything is nice and straight and flat where your sleeve is. And even. If you gotta put more pins in, put more pins in. But you want to keep those edges just right. Okay, put another pin right there just to hold it in. Okay, then you're gonna sew this. Just go a few inches or a couple inches, and then come and look on the back and put your hand under there or your finger so you know everything is staying straight. So start off bring it around, but be sure all this underneath is straight or flat, and these are up. Go a little bit more and continue. Go underneath, feel it. Be sure those are as even as you can get them. Sometimes you just gotta go underneath. Okay. Go some more and keep going. Okay, everybody, here it is. And there's just enough elastic, you know, that you can pull it up and it's not like tight. Okay, so this was Simplicity S9469. And I did C. And I did it in a size 10. So I'm real happy with it. It came out really, really nice. Okay, so that's the video for tonight. I'm hoping to do this one tomorrow. Now, this is Butterick B4685. And I'm looking at that one, which is, it must be A. I don't see the thing on it, but it should be A. So, I'm going to try to get that cut out. I will probably cut it out in the same material as this. I got a lot of it. When I bought it, I thought it was 40 inches wide, and it was like 56 or something. So, and I have 4 yards of it. So I used, I got a lot. I can make a nightgown and another shirt and whatever else I can find to sew. All right. Well, you all have a good night. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, thumbs up. Also, there's a little thanks button that you can donate to the channel if you would like. Also, please go to the special video for the drawing for August, and somebody will receive a free pattern. So with that, you all have a good night. Pray for our country, and I will see you tomorrow.